Welcome team, in this training video I'm going to coach you through how to master your deadlift technique. Now in this video I'm going to run through lots of exercises, lots of examples, lots of little tips and tricks and hacks and reminders. We're going to knock down this tower with our bums, we're going to use this bench, we've got a kettlebell, we've got a dumbbell, we can do deadlifts to the floor, we can do Romanian deadlifts. So I don't expect you to try and think about all these tips and tricks when you're doing your deadlift in your own training session, okay? Try and think about just focusing on one point at a time, okay? And then build it up and compound it up from there to gradually master that technique, because it is quite a skillful exercise to do, and it's an exercise a lot of people get wrong. They normally get it a little bit confused with squats. Squats is very knee dominant and thigh dominant, whereas deadlifts is more of a pulling exercise. It's a bit more hip dominant, glutes and hamstring dominant. So think pushing for squats, pulling for deadlifts. Knee dominant for squats, bending your knees and pushing the floor away, and then hip hinging, hip dominant for deadlifts. Hinging down, leaning forward and pulling the weight back up. Okay, pushing and pulling, very different, activating some different muscle groups. However, they are both solid, big, compound, lower body exercises. Okay, and they will fire up some of the similar or same muscle groups. Okay, so let's start off with some basic exercises before we even pick up the weights. Okay, so as I mentioned, a squat is more knee dominant, where our upper body is really tall. Okay, we might have our arms out for balance, we bend our knees and we get our bums down low. Okay, so this is like a squat. Okay, very much knee dominant. I'm pushing the floor away and firing up my quads. However, the reason why people get a little bit confused is because you do still bend your knees a little bit in deadlifts, and you're still working, the back of the legs as well with a squat. It's very much fronts and backs, and that's when people get it confused slightly. Okay, a great tip, so this is your first training exercise. The great tip is just to use, this could be the back of your sofa at home, or a weight bench like I'm going to do today. We're going to push our calves, the lower part of our legs, okay, against this bench. Now the aim of this exercise is to hip hinge, so knees can bend a little bit as long as your calf muscles, the back of your lower legs, do not leave the bench. Okay, I'm going to have my hands on my thighs, and all I'm going to do is push my bum back, slide down to my knees, slide down to my mid shin, and stop here. Okay, this is almost like a perfect practice go for a Romanian deadlift. I'm stopping mid shin, my chest is up, my back is flat, and my calves are not leaving the back of the bench. Now I need to make sure they stay pressed against the bench as I slide back up, straighten up my torso, my hips, my body. Okay, we don't need to over pull as well, by the way, that's a bit of a common mistake. We just want to stack our spine up, nice and tall at the top, catch your breath, brace your abs, and then go down again. Okay? Now, if your calves leave the back of the bench, that means you're bending your knees a bit too much, and we're turning it into a squat. Okay, so let's do it the incorrect way. So if I start pushing my bum back and doing it properly, but then my knees bend and I end up like sitting on the bench. Can you see the difference there? I've got a big gap here. Okay, I'm quite tall, my hips have gone below my knees, and it's more of a squat and more of a push. Okay, so we want to keep that angle and then push the bum back. A nice little cue I tell people in the gym is like, imagine you're closing a car door. Okay, you maybe got two big shopping bags, or you're carrying your kid or something, and it's like, how do I close the door? I'll give it a little tap back with my bum. Okay, we've all maybe done that before. And that is basically a hip hinge. You're pushing your bum back. So it's a glute dominant, hip dominant, hamstring dominant movement. Okay, but we don't want the knees to continue bending into a squat. Okay, so knees are soft slightly. That's why people get it a little bit wrong, because it is okay to bend your knees. Okay, but the main aim of the game is the hips always stay higher than the knee joint. Okay, so if we're doing a deadlift, the bum goes back, but the hips here are still higher. Okay, so I've got my knees are bent a little bit, I am squatting a little bit, I am firing up my quads a little bit, but the bum goes back and the bum stays higher than the knees. If the bum goes lower, okay, it's more of a squat, more of an up and down push. Not a hip hinge, not a pull. Okay, this is a squat, this is a deadlift. Okay, bum goes low, bum goes back and stays high. Okay, so there's the main difference. And then that is a great exercise just to practice. Whenever I do like movement assessments with people, I'll generally look, even if we're holding on to like the TRX ropes onto the rigs or the racks, I'll generally look at if they can identify the difference and move well between hips and knees, squats and deadlifts, okay? That's really, really good, especially when it comes to programming and practicing and working the right muscle groups. Now here's another little exercise to make sure you're hip hinging correctly. I've just used a roller pad and stuck a foam roller in there to give me some height. And now I've created a tower, okay? So if I don't hit the tower, I'm not hip hinging enough, okay? So I might be just off, forgetting about my calves now, I'm kind of progressing. My main aim now is, I might even have my weights, my main aim now, just to get me going, is make sure I push my bum back, keep my back flat, and then I knock over the tower, okay? So I'm gonna get a bit closer. There's my aim, get it centered. So from there, I'm gonna slide down my thighs, chest up, back straight, push my bum back, and knock down the tower. Okay, that's like a little bit of a practice go. So you're creating a little bit of a target point for yourself. Now obviously I've knocked it over now, so I only can practice once, I'll have to restack it again. But that could be anything, that could be giving yourself like a little bit of a bum target just to tap on each time. Okay, very similar to keeping the calves there. Okay, so there's two little practice goes. That can be done at home, that can be done on a sofa. Okay, that could be standing something up to knock over like your water bottle, anything like that. Okay, now let's go into a Romanian deadlift. Okay, Romanian deadlifts, remember, they are two totally different exercises in a way. Okay, it's still hip hinging, it's still very similar, but with a Romanian deadlift, it is a little bit more hamstring dominant because we're not getting as low, not getting as deep necessarily. Okay, so if you're doing a Romanian deadlift with a dumbbell, a kettlebell, a barbell, you're hovering off the floor. Okay, you're not putting that dead weight down to the ground. Okay, think deadlift, dead weight on the floor. You've got to pick that dead heavy weight up off the floor. A Romanian deadlift is keeping loaded up, keeping contracted, and we're hovering about mid-shin. Okay, so sometimes people are just really flexible and they go too low anyway. But I'm going to keep my calves against the bench. Okay, I've got my dumbbells in front here. I don't want to be all curved and rounded up with my spine, so I am going to roll my shoulders back and lift my chest up and keep like a neutral stacked spine up. Okay, now with the dumbbells, this is the good thing about dumbbells. You've got a bit more freely movable parts really. I like to imagine I've got a barbell and I've just bent the barbell a little bit. So it's a little bit more of a natural carry there for me, especially with the heavier options. So from here, I'm going to have my calves pressed against the bench because I'm going to still continue that same exercise practice. I'm going to keep my chest up. So think like tits up, bum back. They're like the main things when it comes to like deadlifts and keeping the posture, keeping the back flat. I do want to take a breath in, so I will go take a bit of a breath in. So my abs are tight, my core is braced. So chest is up, shoulders are back. I've got a nice natural carry, abs are tight. And I'm going to go chest up throughout the movement and then just send my hips back, keeping my calves against the bench again. Okay? The dumbbells want to be hovering over your laces. They do not want to be drifting forward and putting strain on your back. They want to be as tight to the shins. Imagine you're shaving your legs. Okay, so I'm shaving down my legs, shaving up my legs, back to that tall posture with my chest up. Okay, calves are against the bench, tipping forward, hip hinging, bum back, tight under my shoulders, over my laces, and then pulling back up. Okay, what we don't want to happen is the chest and shoulders to cave in, and then we look all rounded like this. Okay, that's what's going to put strain on our spine and our back. We need to make sure that chest is up, abs are tight, and we've got a nice carry. Okay, let me maybe show you that a little bit closer. Okay, here, shoulders are back, chest is up, tip. See, my knees are slightly bent, but my hips are really high. Back isn't rounded, chest is up. That's it, boobs up, bum back, drag it up, work the glutes. Okay, so that's your Romanian deadlift. So we don't need to go too low. Think about top of my socks, mid-shin with the hands, okay? This could be exactly the same with the heavy kettlebell. Now, one thing I will just point out as a bit of an extra is your form can be shit if you go too low, if you go too light, So for example, this isn't too bad, it's 8 kilogram, but if I've got this little pink dumbbell here and I'm working both my hamstrings, okay, both my bum cheeks, my glutes, I'm strong through my core, my shoulders, my arms, my back, my abs, okay, is that little 8 kilogram dumbbell really gonna fire up all them muscle groups? Okay, am I gonna feel it? Am I gonna be fighting against gravity and lifting this weight off the floor? Or am I just gonna be like handbagging it and just being like, yeah, just basically bending up and down? Okay, I wanna be feeling like I'm getting pulled down to the ground and I'm making conscious effort to engage my core, to fire up the largest muscle groups in my body, which are my glutes, to work both hamstrings, to keep my balance, to stabilize myself, to get my heart rate up, to work my metabolism, yeah, to switch and fire on my muscles, to progressively overload and get a really good workout. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a few warm-up sets and practicing with the bench and the tower like we mentioned before, but when it comes to your main working sets, to get the most out of it and to perform the correct lifting technique is you need a substantial amount of weight to lift. Okay, so this is a 24. This is still not too bad, but it's still a good bit of weight to lift up, and it's going to be beneficial when it comes to keeping the correct form. Okay, so for starters, I'm picking this off the floor, so I don't want my feet too far back and I don't want to be reaching out for it. Okay, let your body get close to it. Step here, so it's here. Imagine that's a bar. The bar would be over my feet would be under the bar. Okay, so with a heavy kettlebell, I want to be either side of the kettlebell, just like I would be with a barbell. Hips go back, knees are soft, chest is up, abs are tight, take the strain. A good tip for this one is imagine you've got lemons or oranges under your armpits and you're going to squeeze the juice out of the fruit. So I'm going to squeeze, chest up, abs tight, lift it up to the top, and then reverse it exactly the same tempo. So we're not just dropping and slamming the weight down and letting gravity do the work. We're in control. Okay? So let's go from a bit of a side angle. Abs tight, karate chop here, send the bum back. Okay, so I'm starting from the low position this time, not the high position like I would do from a Romanian deadlift. I'll be starting and counting my reps from here. Okay, form check, squeeze the lemons, boobs up, bum back, lift with tight abs, reverse it down. Okay, and I'm touching the floor. This is a full deadlift. It's now a dead weight again. Lift, take it back down. Lift, take it back down. Okay, so if this was a Romanian deadlift, I can still start from the ground because it's a big heavy kettlebell. Okay, so I might start here and do a full deadlift, but then stop at mid shin, about there, hovering, loading up more the back of the knees, back of the legs into hamstrings, because the more I hinge through my hips, okay, the more I'm bending here and working my bum, working my glutes. Okay, that's a bit like when you do a hip thrust on the floor or glute bridge. If your legs are too far out, might be a bit too low here. If your legs are a bit too far out here, there's not a lot of hip hinge, so it's mainly hamstrings. If your legs are tighter, and I've got more hip mobility here, more of a bridge, that's going to be more bum. Okay, so that's very, very much the same for when you're standing. Okay, the more you send your hips back and use your bum muscles, your glutes, okay, the more you get out of your glute workout. Okay, that's why a Romanian deadlift is here, but then a full deadlift is here. See how much more hip hinge there is. Okay, and I'm going to leave it there today, guys. I think that's quite a lot of information. We've gone past the 15-minute mark. So to summarize and to recap, practice, first of all, with just your body weight. It's quite a nice stretch off anyway. Breathing, bracing, chest up, shoulders back. Okay, send the hips back, karate chop the hips back. Squeeze the lemons if you're holding weights. Okay, if you're getting all the way down to the floor, take the weight all the way down. You can give it like a little kiss, a little tap, but generally take it down. Get used to picking that heavy weight up one rep at a time. Okay, so we've gone through kettlebell deadlifts, we've gone through like Romanian deadlifts and some practice techniques, plus lots of little cues there, little things to remember in your brain when you're training yourself. Okay, chest up, back flat, breathe in, abs tight, squeeze the lemons, knock the tower down, close the car door, calves against the bench. Okay, not too much knee dominance, more hip dominance. Okay, the lower down you go, it's going to be more glutes, more Romanian deadlifts a little bit higher, it's going to be a little bit more hamstrings, but you are still going to be working the glutes and the core, so don't think they're like inferior or anything. And if you do want any more help and advice, or you want me to check your form, okay, just reach out to me, let me know, and we'll go from there. Thanks for watching.